Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a few header ideas as well as a few lettering ideas. I'm first going to draw a bunch of headers before I show you the different lettering styles. So for the header ideas, I'm just going to use my normal handwriting. For the first header, we're going to make a banner around the title. I really like straight lines, so I used my ruler to draw horizontal lines above and below the title. Then I make rounded corners and connect the lines. Next I drew sort of like bended lines from the bottom corners and then another horizontal line on each side, a small distance below the top line. Then I just make the little banner edges. Finally, just connect the bended lines with the horizontal line above. Now onto the second header. This is just a little squiggly line. I'll try my best to explain this one. Starting on the left, I just make a curl going under, out to the left, curling around, dragging a line under the header, and then doing the same on the other side but backwards. The next few headers are quite simple. It's just drawing lines under the title. You can do 2 lines with one of the lines being shorter, or you can draw 3 lines going from shortest to longest or longest to shortest. The next header is a box header with extended lines crossing each other at the corners. To spice it up a bit, I added dots in random places on the lines. This header is very simple. It's just a slightly wavy line. You can add another line and connect them like this as well. A simple but nice header is this angled box header. The top and bottom lines are horizontal, but the sides are diagonal. This header is quite pretty. It has a curl on each end, but they point in different directions. This header is just a line with multiple little waves. To spice it up a bit, you can add another line underneath. For the next header, I draw 2 diagonal lines crossing each other under the title. This next header is also a pretty one. It gives such a nice effect. You just draw 3 droplets at the top and bottom, with the top ones being upside down. And of course, how can we not include the famous drop shadow box? It gives such a nice effect and usually works with any theme. Another cute header idea is just to draw a flower at each end and connect them with a line. For the next header, I just drew a line and drew 3 arrows at each end. This next header is quite simple. It's just a squiggly line and you can choose in which direction you'd want to squiggle it, I guess. A very simple but effective header is a black box with a white heading. I color in the box with my Pigma Brushpen and then write the title with my Uni-ball Signo gel pen. The next header is also simple but effective and is just a line at the top and the bottom. This is another box header, but the corners are rounded. I also drew a box header without the rounded corners, just because I haven't included it yet. The next header uses the wavy line, but all around. This header is quite cute. I make a heart in the middle and then a curly line on each side going opposite directions. I also just wanted to include the double line header. For the next header, I just draw a double line on each side of the title. This header gives the effect that it's fluffy. you can make the little half circles bigger to get more of a cloud effect. This next header can also be used as a page divider, where you have a line from one edge of the page connected to the title and then a line to the other edge. This header works best with cursive writing. The effect isn't as nice with normal block letters. Okay, now that we've gone through some types of headers, let's look at different fonts. Now, just so you guys know, I am not an expert in fonts. I don't know what the correct names are of these fonts, I just like the way they look. Okay, so the obvious one is just normal cursive writing. But to make it interesting, you can write the letters a bit wider apart, as wide or narrow as you want. For this wide one, I usually like to make the downstrokes thicker, because it looks nicer to me. So it's kinda like fake calligraphy. Another way to write a title is to just use capital letters. But to make it interesting, you can make all the lines and divisions that are in the letters higher up or very low. It creates a very fun kind of font. You can also, of course, make all the letters a bit wider. The next font is kind of like thick letters, but I don't really know what to call it. Box letters? I don't know. But to make this one more interesting, you can create a drop shadow. If you're not sure how to create a drop shadow for letters, I'll try to explain it. You want the shadow to fall on just two sides of the letters. I usually choose the bottom and the right side. So everywhere there is a possibility of a shadow at the bottom or right side of a letter, there is where I make a shadow. Also make sure not to start the shadow right at the edge of a part of the letter. There will always be a small part that doesn't have a shadow. The next font is also capital letters, but with little lines at the edges of the letters. So with this font, you want to stay within the top line and the bottom line. So for the E, you just make the little lines inward. The D doesn't really have an edge for extra lines, and the rest of the letters are quite straightforward. But now what if you have a letter with a curved edge, like an S or a J? For those, you don't make a little line. You make a little dot. Here I'm showing you with the letters J, G, and S. Let's write a different word with this font. Let's write July. The round edge will get a dot, U is quite straightforward, L will have a little inward line at the bottom, and Y is obvious by now. Okay, that was that for that little tutorial. The next header is cursive writing, but all the letters are now lowercase. To change it up, you can make each letter have a different height. The next font is what I usually call grade 1 font, because it's the most simple, straightforward way to write letters. To make it a bit cuter, you can give the edges of the letters a very slight curve. And then of course you can go a bit more extreme and curl the edges even more. The next font uses capital letters, and every left line of each letter is a thick line. For the next font, I just write all the letters with soft corners. I decided to just show the curly font with capital letters as well. The next font is kind of like that page divider header is, but all the letters are lowercase and the lines are much shorter. The next font or header is one that I've seen used a lot. You use a highlighter or a lighter colored pen and write the title in big capital letters. Then, using a black pen or fine liner, you write the same word or different word over that title in that stretched out cursive font. The next font is just normal cursive writing, but in like a fake calligraphy style, where you just make the downward strokes thicker. The next font is thick cursive writing, but with a thin drop shadow created with a black fine liner. This is probably not the best example I could have given, but you get the point. I created this next font by fitting each letter into a box of 2 spaces wide and 2 spaces high. For this font, I turn my book diagonally, which creates this cool diagonal font. You can also do this using capital letters. This next style is probably one of my favorites. For this style, you make a really fancy and big capital letter, and then the rest of the letters are small cursive writing. I decided to show you guys another example with the word July. This next font is a fun imperfect style of writing. It's just drawing the outlines of the letters with soft edges. It makes it look like soft or squishy letters. If you wanted to have a more harder look, you can draw in cracks. I actually used a similar font like this in my May bullet journal setup. You can also do this style with sharper edges. These styles can of course be incorporated in lowercase letters as well, and it actually creates a completely different style. For this font, I just write normal capital letters, but the spaces in between are bigger. For the next font, I first start off by writing the grade 1 style letters, and then on each edge I make a little dot. For this font, the goal is to make everything triangular. I guess I could have made the H also bend outward like the E, but oh well. The next style is very simple. You just make a dot between every letter and then it makes quite a nice effect. For this style, the goal is to make all the lines curved. You can also create the diagonal writing style with cursive writing. It looks really nice. This next font is similar to a previous one I showed, but with this one the edges are soft and the letters are wide but flat. This font is also one that I used in my May bullet journal spreads. The theme of May was Minecraft, hence the blocks. Finally, the last font that I could come up with is kind of like a square font. The point is to try and write all the letters as square as possible. And that was my header and lettering ideas. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe found some inspiration for headers in your bullet journal, or maybe some new lettering ideas. Please let me know in the comments below if this was helpful. Also, please subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that. Okay, that's it from me guys. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and then I will see you in the next video.